Welcome to the Mobile Home Friend YouTube channel. I am Charles Odell, and this is your primary resource for everything manufactured housing. Whether you are tackling a full remodel like the one you see here, or just looking for honest advice on repairs and financing, we provide the data and technical deep dives you need to succeed. Our mission is simple: to help you save money and improve your home through first principles logic and transparent cost breakdowns. For the full technical guides and even more resources, visit us at mobilehomefriend.com.
Welcome to another deep dive from Mobile Home Friend. Today, we are looking at mobile home insurance based on our latest research over at mobilehomefriend.com. Look, protecting your biggest investment, it all starts with understanding what you're really up against. Okay, let's just jump right in. This quote from our founder, Chuck Odell, it really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Think about it. You can get through a fire, you can survive a storm, but the real knockout punch, that often comes later, from your own insurance policy. It's that horrible feeling when you realize the safety net you've been paying for years is actually full of giant, gaping holes. All right, so before we get into all the scary stuff, let's set the stage. What are you even buying in the first place? Let's talk about a policy's core protections, or, what you think you're buying. So usually it all boils down to these four main things. You've got dwelling, which is, the house itself, the walls, the roof, all that. Then there's other structures for stuff like your shed or a detached garage. Personal property, that's easy. It's all your belongings inside. And finally, liability, which is basically your lawsuit shield. But here's where it gets tricky, and you got to pay attention. What about your deck or a carport? Well, they might be covered under dwelling, but a lot of the time, the payout limits for those are way, way lower. It's one of those things you absolutely have to check in your own policy. Exactly. And that fine print, that's where the real trouble begins. So now let's talk about the big three exclusions. These are the gaps where we see policies fail homeowners over and over again. First up, and this is a huge one, flood damage. Now, you might hear water damage and think, great, I'm covered for any kind of water, right? Wrong. In the eyes of an insurance company, water damage and flood damage are totally different things. And one of them, well, it's almost never covered. And this chart here really breaks it down perfectly. A pipe bursts under your sink, that's internal, so it's considered water damage. Most policies will cover that. But a nearby creek overflows and water seeps into your home, that's external groundwater. That, my friends, is a flood. And your standard policy will not cover it. No way. You literally need a whole separate policy for that, usually through FEMA. All right, exclusion number 2 is earth movement. And no, we're not just talking about big, dramatic earthquakes. For mobile homeowners, the real enemy here is much sneakier. It's the slow, gradual settling of your home. The ground shifts a little year after year, the piers sink, and suddenly your home isn't level anymore. Well, guess what? Your insurance company just calls that a maintenance issue. It's not a sudden event, so they're not going to pay a dime to fix it. And number 3, listen up, because this one is absolutely critical if you ever plan on moving your home. The moment your house is lifted off its foundation, your standard policy is worthless. It's done. Moving a home is a huge risk, right? So if that truck gets into a wreck on the highway and your home is totaled, your normal insurance pays you nothing. Zero. You have to get a special short-term policy called trip collision coverage just for the move. Okay, so let's say you avoid all those exclusions. Let's say a fire or a tornado hits and it is covered. Well, don't relax just yet, because there's another massive trap waiting for you. And frankly, this might be the single most important clause in your entire policy. It's all about how they decide to pay you. It all comes down to 2 little acronyms, ACV versus RCV. ACV stands for actual cash value. This means they pay you what your home is worth today, after it's depreciated for years. So, your 20-year-old home, it might only be worth, say, 10 grand on paper. But RCV, replacement cost value, that pays you what it costs to go out and buy a brand new replacement home. And let me tell you, the difference between these two is not small. We are talking about a $50,000 difference. $50,000 for the exact same disaster. Imagine your older home burns down. With an ACV policy, you might get a check for 10 grand. What are you going to do with that? It's barely enough to clear the debris. But an RCV policy, that gets you the 60 grand you actually need to buy a new home and start over. The difference is life-changing. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, RCV sounds great, but it must cost a fortune. And yeah, it does cost more. You can see right here in this cost projection table, which we pulled from the Mobile Home Friend website, that RCV premiums are higher across the board. Look at a high-risk state like Florida. The difference is pretty big. But when you compare paying a few hundred extra dollars a year versus losing out on 50 grand after a disaster, well, you can see why we almost always say go for RCV if you can get it.
Okay, I know this is a lot, and it can feel pretty overwhelming. But here's the good news. You are not powerless here. Knowledge is power. So we've put together a super simple 5-step action plan, something you can do right now to check your own policy and fix these problems before you ever need to file a claim.
Step 1. Go find your HUD data plate. It's usually a piece of paper stuck inside a kitchen cabinet or a closet. Snap a photo of it. Your agent needs this info. Step 2. Pull out your policy and look for those 3 letters, ACV. If you see actual cash value, pick up the phone and call your agent right away. Ask them for a quote on an RCV policy. Step 3. This is easy. Walk through your house with your smartphone and just record a video of everything you own. This is your proof if you ever need to make a claim. Step 4. Get your tie-down certified, especially if you're in a hurricane or tornado zone. And finally, step 5. Check your skirting. Make sure it's solid so critters can't get under there and cause damage that, surprise, surprise, insurance will cover. And hey, if you want the full technical breakdown on any of this, we've got it all laid out in the post on mobilehomefriend.com. So at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. Your insurance policy isn't a magic wand that fixes everything. It's a tool, and just like any tool, it only works if you know how to use it and what its limits are. So what are the big takeaways? Know your payout type, ACV or RCV. Understand those major exclusions like flood, and be proactive about your home's maintenance. It's that simple. And that really leaves you with one big question to ask yourself. Go pull out your policy papers tonight. Take a look. And with everything you've just learned, ask yourself, is this policy an asset that's actually going to protect my family? Or is it a liability, just waiting to become my next disaster? Thanks so much for watching. For more guides and to read the full in-depth article on this topic, head on over to mobilehomefriend.com. And of course, don't forget to check out the links we've put in the description below.
Thanks for watching. For more technical guides on this topic, click the link to see the in-depth article over at mobilehomefriend.com. There are many more informational dives into manufactured home topics to investigate and keep your project moving forward.